My God. The president's sister, retired federal judge Marianne Trump Berry, was recorded by her niece Mary slamming her famous brother. Change of story is a lack of preparation, the lying, the holy shit. All he wants to do is appeal to his base. He has no principles. None. Donald's out for Donald, period. Goddamn tweet and the lying. Oh my God. The president's sister, retired federal judge Marianne Trump Berry, was recorded by her niece Mary slamming her famous brother. Change of story is a lack of.
And about his character. Folks, I know what a black job is. It's the Vice President of the United States.
Anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
Anymore.
Black jobs. I tell you, it's probably the best line that the president has uttered throughout this whole chaotic stuff. Well, you know what a black job is? It's the vice president of the United States. It's Ketanji Brown Jackson's job as well. He said it was also Barack Obama's job, president. I mean, this thing is. Look, the current political climate in the United States is just continues to be as turbulent, as violent, as disturbing as possible. And look, the bottom line is all you need to know is this, that the fact that the leading presidential candidate, the one that all these polls say is going to CNN now, doing their bidding, of course, for Trump. They're, putting in their applications to wipe the floors and do the windows at Mar-a-Lago when he's elected. Says that right now they see him winning 330 some odd electoral college votes at least in a landslide, even though the 538 shows the opposite, but nonetheless, polls are polls. But the fact that this guy, and we run it down all the time, how can folks look at themselves in the mirror? How can Nikki Haley, who just a couple of months ago was saying what she was saying about him, then get up there and kiss the ring? JD Vance saying what he's been saying and then kisses the ring and God knows what else. And, what happened to Tim Scott's fiance? What happened there, Tim? You guzzled down all the Trump juice, and now whatever. As the as the president often does in his speeches, whatever. It's like, give me a break. This is again. I mean, y'all know his rap sheet, and yes, he has a rap sheet, and it is long. Sexual assault, massive business fraud. I mean, we can go on and on. Yusef Salaam is a New York City councilman, elected New York City councilman. He still wants him executed for something he didn't do. He and the other 4. Exonerated 5. But we got a problem with the other guy because what? Because what? Because he said, you ain't black if you vote for me. I mean, if you don't vote for me, whatever. If you vote for Trump. He was right. You act black. You're acting black. And you got, this normalization of criminal behavior. And no, you know, Biden called that out with Lester Holt, and they got on Biden. But the one thing you could say about Joe Biden is that he's not going around inciting hate. He's not going around and telling people he's going to shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, telling people he wants people executed. At least not publicly. At least not publicly. I mean, this is perilous. And then how about that? So, the s- blasphemous, unacceptable is what they call it. Republican Sikh leader attacked for a Sikh prayer, however you pronounce that. But how about also JD Vance's wife? They did not know that she was, what is she, like Pakistani or whatever? They didn't know that, apparently. I wonder if Trump knew. I wonder if Trump knew. And there's a good chance that he didn't know because JD Vance believes that a wife, should be in the kitchen and the bedroom. That's what he believes, and should never leave the house without her husband. Should never leave the house unless she's going food shopping. JD Vance's belief. So maybe his wife been at home every time he's been at Mar-a-Lago and spent countless days and nights on his knees before Trump. And so maybe she didn't. Maybe Trump didn't even know that she wasn't. Uh, but once they found out, I mean, you got to see some of the posts and the videos that they have put MAGA people on social media about her. I mean, absolutely killing JD Vance. So they've already splintered.
Vivek. All his kids have Indian names. So it's like, what exactly are we getting here? And that's not a dig at him just because I'm a racist or something. But it's like, who is this guy really? Do we really expect that the guy who has an Indian wife and named their kid Vivek is going to support white identity? Like, there's a white genocide going on in the world. White people are being systematically replaced in America and Europe through immigration and, to a much lesser extent,
Yeah. And there he said it all just in those few seconds, didn't he? A white genocide. And Project 2025 and in Trump's own words. Now Trump, we know he tried to distance himself a little bit for political reasons. But he said it himself. He has said, and you can go back and look at it. It's too much anti-white sentiment here in this country. It's too much anti-white crime. And this is what Trump said. That's why he wants to get rid of the Department of Justice. We're going to talk about more on Project 2025 today, too. Another facet of that. But um, that's what it's all about. So when you get, the stripper Amber Rose, the people who people have forgotten even existed, and so she's looking she's looking for her place in the spotlight by going to the RNC and saying what she said. Um, you just got to understand that they are pulling out all the stops that don't make sense. Don't make sense. Who cares about Amber Rose? Who cares about she's been ran through more than Union Station. Who cares? The bottom line is the interest of African Americans continues to be, and people say marginalized. That's actually giving it credit. It's been trampled on. The interest of Black America has been totally trampled on. You can talk about the civil rights movement, but this MAGA stuff, um, they are not only rolling back any gains from the civil rights. They, they are just dismantling, and you got black folks going along with it. That's the frustrating part about it. The Tim Scotts, the Byron Donalds, the Clarence Thomas, the Candace Owens, and stuff like that. And of course, Van Jones. And I just love the fact that idiot, that lowlife, Van Jones, is being called out for what he is. And people like D.L. Hughley is really giving it to him, as well they should. He was fortunate enough, Van Jones was, who's the white guy that gave him all that money? And so, yeah, Bezos gave him $100 million. And man literally told him, you can do whatever you want with it. What did Van Jones do for it, though? That's the $100 million question. That's the $100 million question. What poll he worked? Um, I mean, I have no restraint when it comes to talking about these folks because it's disgusting. It's pathetic. When people walk down the street and they look at people who are homeless or struggling, really, really poor, and thieves and whatever else, and they call them low lives, which is not correct in a lot of those cases. But Van Jones is a low life. He may have $100 million that Bezos gave him. Money does not make you a decent person. As we see, he's a low life. He's an absolute low life. And so the time for merely we're calling for equality, we're calling for justice. Well, that time has passed. Those goals have been systematically dismantled. What is needed now is a powerful, unyielding action, uncompromising fight. Death. It's just like it, it, like I said, they and Democrats they're not immune. They're not exempted from this. They're not exempted from this because they'd rather, and I could care less what they do. But when you talk about, I hear all this about Biden should step down, or Biden should do this, or Biden should do that, or whatever. The one thing that has stopped an all-out mutiny is because even Democrats don't want Kamala Harris as president or leading the ticket, which is pathetic. Which is absolutely, even though this is show you that they have their ugly, ugly, ugly demons on their side too. Because it's not about country anymore, obviously. It's about party. And if they care about their party and they see that Kamala Harris would trounce Trump, and they're calling for Biden to step aside, but what they're not doing and what they won't do is call for Kamala Harris to lead the ticket. They want it's the it's no different than JD Vance and his stance on women. Democrats, when it comes to black women anyway, because they got behind Hillary. When it comes to black women, it's no. She belongs in the kitchen and the bedroom. She belongs in the kitchen and the bedroom. And it proves that. The polling, because they go by the polls. We don't really go by the polls. The polling shows that Biden currently trails Trump on average, when you think about the polls, 3 to 4, 3 to 5 points in all the swing states. But when they do the polling of Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris and Trump, she's up 3-5. So why isn't there a call? If you're going to make the call for the man to step aside, why isn't there an equal or even stronger call for someone who can actually win? And Biden can, Biden keeps saying he feels like he's the one that can do the job, that can beat um, Trump. And this convention, the faux shooting, and all that stuff. I mean, because he wasn't shot. Secret Service says it was shattered glass from the bullet. Um, the bullet caused the glass to shatter, and shards hit him in the ear. Yeah, Adam Schiff on a hot mic told donors Power 96 that he wants Biden to step down, but there are no calls for the vice president to lead the ticket, which means what I said it means. They want black women to lift them up, but they don't want black women. They don't want to lift black women up. They don't. So, nonetheless, really good speech yesterday by the president at the NAACP convention. Um, but I just say this: he's talking to his base. It's like you can't read too much into what's going on in Milwaukee because they're talking to their base. Go out and tell other people that. Go tell other people about what a black job is. President Biden. And he's going to talk to Ed Gordon. I will say this: it's going to be very self-serving, but it's going to be very true. He flew into. I thought he was just going to do a video and send it to the NAACP. No, he flew in there. He's going to sit down with Ed Gordon on a black targeted network, not a black-owned network. What you mean to tell me they couldn't come to the black press in its convention, but yet you want the black vote? It's so important. You mean to tell me that still we're almost done, 4 years in. You haven't sat down yet with us? They have made their excuses, scheduling, and everything else. You mean to tell me that you call into Word and made that a disaster, and you have yet to call into us to sit down with us? But it's so important. Black interest is always going to be last with these folks, the way things have been set up. It's always going to be last. Federal government doesn't spend any advertising dollars with the black-owned news outlets, newspapers, and media companies. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars in advertising, the federal government. And they've given a couple of bucks for gum and candy to the black press. The interest of black folks will never be important or that important. I mean, you go back to the civil rights and John Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson. They did what they did because at the time they were trying to avoid what they thought would be a civil war. Let's be real about it. It wasn't like John Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson was sitting in the Oval Office. Oh my God, I can't stand the way they're doing black folks. Losing sleep over it. This the Emancipation Proclamation. Why? We could not let the South win. Could not let the South win. Let's get these black folks on the front lines. We can't. You got to do emancipation. You got to free them because it'd be a crime to have a slave kill somebody at war, even the enemy. So you had to do it. So every time they've done anything in the interest of black folks is because the overarching interest was for them. Don't be misled. Don't be misled. That's just the way it is. They have never done anything out of because they got a good heart. They've never done that. People get upset about the crime bill. Well, we all know about that. People get upset. Look at we talk about the crime bill. What about before that, the Rockefeller law? Huh? Where they just started seizing everything just on accusation. They seized your property on accusation. Folks ain't mad about that. That's a Reagan law. Folks ain't mad about that. Get your priorities straight, black folks, too. That's the other thing, too. Because the Rockefeller law that's why everybody went to prison. You took all their assets, they couldn't pay a lawyer. You took their assets, they took their money, their houses, their cars, and everything. They had nothing to leverage to pay a decent lawyer. War on drugs, Nixon. Dr. Nicole says, we know there are some folks who will not vote for Biden because they don't think he'll complete the term, thus making Kamala the next president. Do you think those same folks would vote directly for her? That's a very good point. Very good point. So they put themselves in quite the pickle, huh? Have they? But the problem with that is, yes, they have put themselves in quite the pickle. But the problem with that is, again, it's a testimony on the fact that you can sit here today. The fact that that man on the other side has any supporters except family, because family and even family at times, you got family steps up. Look, I can't marry Trump. I can't get behind this. I'm not going to get behind it. Usually, it's just the mamas, not even the daddies, but the mamas. They stick with the son all the way, regardless. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. So yeah, the fact that this nation has this guy that he has so much support, regardless, is alarming. Because I'm gonna tell you a very unpopular statement, but right now, Putin can win here. He could be a front runner here. Hitler can be a front runner here under this climate. The Grand Wizard of the KKK would be a front runner right now if he was running. That is the shame of America. Mike B says the same black folks who think JD Vance was a good pick need to know JD Vance ain't with reparations for black folks. None of them are. Heck, Joe Biden's not for reparations. Reparations. None of them are. And yes, Power 96, that's the other part of it. That again, um, remember black folks, they didn't want you to read. They don't want you to read even today, taking away all your books. They don't want you to read Project 2025. Michael Harriot did a fantastic job, by the way, breaking it down uh, yesterday for the Griot, black owned. Don't always agree with Byron Allen's policies or whatever, or whether him and April Ryan spews over there, but certainly they Panama Jackson, Michael Harriot, um, Jaron Keith, those guys read them all the time. Um, but yes, Trump is on record saying bring back stop and frisk and 100% qualified immunity for all law enforcement. What happened to that? What happened to that call? And and speaking of qualified immunity, where's Ben Crump in all of this? Where's Ben Crump? You know, um, I even saw a video of Sharpton, and Sharpton has been, let me start by saying he has been as critical of MAGA and Trump and the rest as anybody else. But I saw a video of Sharpton. He posted a video the other day saying, him and Trump may not, and I hate when they do this. Hate when people do this. We may not have the same political views. Heck, of course you don't. But we used to. And he romanticized a little bit. I don't know. He wouldn't characterize it as romanticizing, but that's how it came off. Romanticizing about when they were hanging together. And he talked about, but he did say how he fought him. He's been fighting him for 30 years or 40 years or whatever. Memphis Jokes in the house. What's up, Memphis? Y'all got to check the Memphis Jokes show out. Check them out on Wednesday evenings, Facebook, YouTube, and but just as importantly, check out his music. He's a Chuck G signee. You got to check him out. But he did talk about that. But I'm praying for him and his family, is what Sharpton says, that he's gonna, because Sharpton talked about when he was stabbed, and then after the initial, going to the hospital, whatever, afterwards, the anger and the disillusionment sets in a little bit. But then it goes on. Give me a break with that. I'm praying for he and his family. Give me a break with that. It's that stuff I don't get. Oh, people say, "Oh, you got a good Christian or whatever." I feel like I'm a good Christian, but there's also that saying about throwing your pearls before swine. I'm not doing that, at least not intentionally. Not intentionally. But it's sickening when y'all wanna, yeah, exactly, Mike V. No comment is the only comment needed. As I said the other day, you can go ahead and say, um, violence has no place in this, and, political violence shouldn't happen. You can go ahead and say that. Um, and that's fine. Leave it at that. But this added stuff, I'm glad he's okay. I'm praying for him and his family, and then this idea that he's going to all of a sudden become a good guy, gonna have this awakening. You out of your mind. You out of your mind. You're in you're in denial. You're in disillusionment. You're crazy. And we keep going on and on and on, same thing. But it should tell black folks, even these stupid black folks like Tim Scott, it should tell you, and Van Jones and Stephen A. Smith, it should tell you how they truly feel about black and brown folks and women and the LGBTQ. It should tell you unmistakably. They're not just putting our interests aside or what. No, they're not. We have no interest according to them. They've trampled them and they spit on them. If the only commentary you can give about Joe Biden is that he's 81 years old, then you are also trampling and spitting on the interest of people of color. Did you see the vans outside of the RNC convention? Dictator, dictator, dictator. They all said they understand that they are electing a dictator. As Austin writes in, a self-appointed martyr and will be worse than before the shooting. Yeah, absolutely. 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 I'm telling you, his heir apparent is not J.D. Vance. It's not Sarah Huckabee. Certainly not Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Beetlejuice Boebert. It's Barron Trump. Dictators pass on the dictatorship to family. And Barron Trump is the heir apparent, not Eric or Don. And maybe because of their, who knows, their alleged uh, substance issues, or maybe because he's been one-on-one schooling Barron on how to be a dictator. But that is that's outside the RNC. And then look at the Negro. He grew from his knee. He's a Negro. I mean, come on. Come on. How much did they pay you to do that? How much? Folks have a right to be on, to choose how they wish. But good night. Would you would you dive into a public would you drink from a public toilet to try and get $100? I mean, come on. That's what he's doing. Whatever it is, that's what you're doing. That's why look at Mushmouth, Tim Scott's face. Give me a break. In other news, the judge has been removed. We're gonna cover this morning, a couple of other things. Um Mike V. The judge has been removed from the Young Thug trial, and we'll have the latest on that. Also, some really good news, some encouraging news, I should say. A Southside Chicago organization is paving the way for the next generation to become first responders. It's the Black Fire Brigade. Recently celebrated its sixth anniversary by opening a new educational center in Washington Park section of Chicago. And the impact has been amazing. I'll tell you about that as well. Also, RFK Jr. leaked video shows him and Trump on a phone call, and it proves what most people have said. They're working together. And RFK's own son leaked the video. Interesting. Project 2025. Today we're gonna talk about the section where they only want white government employees only. And sad news: the father of Kobe Bryant, former NBA player Jellybean Bryant, has died at the age of 69. We'll bring you the latest details there this morning. And the judge. So yeah, RFK the snake is what he says. So this long running, almost joke of a prosecution against the rapper Young Thug and others have been removed from the case after two defendants sought his recusal, citing a meeting the judge held. Y'all remember with prosecutors and the state witness, where this state witness apparently admitted to the crime or said he knew who committed the crime, and the judge did not tell Young Thug's lawyer. Well, Judge Rachel Kraus granted the motions and ordered the clerk of court to assign the case to a different judge. Heck, Chase, I mean, it's just been ridiculously crazy. We all know about Lil Woody, and this is the new judge, which a lot of people said. A lot of people are saying Young Thug is in trouble now because this judge, she she don't play, and so all the craziness. Um, Austin sends a picture of Tim Scott. It's a really good picture. for a lot of reasons. But this judge does not play around. She has a reputation of moving things along and getting it done. And while that might mean that Young Thug's future is now really murky, um, and I'm just getting this. I hate to go uh, off line here, but um, I see how do you say Azalea? How you say her name, Greer? Azalea Banks, the rapper, hip hop, um, is endorsing Donald Trump. It's like, what's going on here? What's happening? Um, Barrington Barrington had a response. I'm not going to repeat. Y'all know Barrington. Just imagine Barrington, and you know what he said. Um, Here, this note says, in the past years, we have seen a rise in male hip hop stars such as Kanye, Snoop Dogg, Waka Flocka, Flame, Chief Keef, and more asserting their support for Trump. Now, this comes with a photo of him and Diddy. Apparently, they belong together. Um, wow. And now, however you say her name, Azalea Banks, Sexy Red, of course, who can't can't sell enough tickets to have a concert tour. And why would she be able to, right? Um, so these women from the hip hop community are really doing this, huh? Y'all really doing that? This is how y'all playing in folks' face. Wow. Very nice. Very nice. Well, nonetheless, just a little diversion from my young thug from my young thug spiel. But that case, regardless of how it ends, because it's not going to do a whole restart. I think they're going to pick up from where they left off, I think. And if that's the case, um, it's ripe for being, if he's convicted, being overturned on appeal. So we'll watch that. But I did want to make sure that we talked about those before we get to Project 2025. Something positive here. In Chicago, this organization is paving the way for the next generation to become first responders. The Black Fire Brigade recently celebrated its sixth anniversary by opening a new educational center in the Washington Park section of the city. And folks say that the impact is quite amazing. All of the students who have gone through the program have gotten jobs as firefighters or EMTs, from CPR training in the classroom to a shooting scenario that looks very real. Retired firefighter Quintion Curtis is training these first responders, the next generation of first responders. He's the founder of the Black Fire Brigade, which recruits, trains, and provides employment opportunities for young African Americans so they can become medical technicians and firefighters. Lieutenant Q is what they call Curtis. He was a firefighter for 37 years and he started the brigade. So he says, so they don't see us, so they don't believe us, so they don't know if they can become us. So that's why Black firefighters in a Black community, Black police officers, Black first responders, period, inside their own communities is key, because now you see yourself. You have a vision, he said. They recently opened that educational center. And inside the center, he says, we have a fire engine, we have 2 ambulances, we have 2 medicarts. So they get a chance to actually touch, feel, and interact. Um, he Lieutenant Q is helped by Terry Winston, who is considered his right hand woman. So, in order to join the brigade, the Black Fire Brigade, there are 2 things you have to do. You have to give up alcohol and marijuana. He says, drop the weed because I'm going to drop you. He says, you're going to drop. If you're going to test positive, we're going to get rid of you. He says, these kids give up weed and alcohol to roll with us. They've completely paid for 700 students' tuition since 2018. And where did the money come from? out of Curtis's Lieutenant Q, his own pockets, and he's gotten some donations. Governor Pritzker came over there and he made a pledge that um, it would be a program that the state would get behind. He said that the organization has been called one of the top crime prevention programs in the state. He says you don't have to worry about this kid shooting at you. Why? They're busy. They got a job. They're out here. Now they're trying to save your life, not take your life. He said the age range for the organization, you can start as young as 18 and as old as 30. And now they've dropped the age requirement to 16. So they are really encouraging this. It is Mike V, good stuff. We usually push Black folks into law enforcement, but firefighting is slept on. It's so true. And yes, Power 96, that is news that he says I can use. Pin the link, please. Absolutely. But this is you can go to Black Fire Brigade. I'm having trouble with that word, Power 96, in Chicago, and you can get all the details there. They do have a website. Um, it's really 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 good to know that this program exists and that they are doing so, and they have achieved a lot of good with this program already. And it was founded in 2018, so 6 years in, and 700 folks have come through that program already, and all of them, every single one of them, have gotten a job as an EMT or a firefighter. They are good paying jobs with security and benefits. So that is fantastic. Fantastic. It's beautiful to be able to lift this program up and programs like this. Before we get back to the minutia of politics, RFK, he apologized to the former president after footage of a private phone call between the two was leaked online by his son, Bobby Kennedy III, in the now deleted video recorded on Sunday, the day after the assassination attempt, or the alleged assassination attempt against Trump. The former president can be heard, quote, giving his real opinion to my dad about vaccinating kids. In his initial post, Bobby Kennedy III said that he believed these sorts of conversations should be had in public. He also blasted Senator J.D. Vance, now the vice president's, the choice for vice president, saying that the former president, that Trump had chosen JD for fire all the unvaccinated nurses. This is what JD Vance had said before, in suggesting that his father was being considered as a potential choice. They are so mixed up because they got me mixed up. What is it? Fire all the? I mean, what? Uh, RFK doesn't believe in vaccination. He believes it's all a hoax. But in the clip, Trump can be heard criticizing vaccines and the dosage amounts. Something's wrong with that whole system, he said. And it's the doctors. He says, remember, I said I want to do small doses, small doses. When you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination that is like 38 different vaccines, and it looks like it's meant for a horse, not a, 10-pound or 20-pound baby. It looks like you should be giving it a horse. This is his actual words. Trump's actual words on that call. He says, it's just massive. And then you see the baby all of a sudden starting to change radically. He says, I've seen it too many times. How many babies have you seen, Trump? And Trump told you to drink bleach. And so, but here's the kicker. Here's the real, forget the vaccine stuff or whatever. We know they're kooks. He asked Bobby Kennedy, how did Bobby Kennedy choose to move to the right, become this right winger, this MAGA guy? And but nonetheless, Bobby asked him in return, how did you know to move to the right, turn to the right, meaning when he was being allegedly shot at. Um, then Trump told RFK that we, meaning him and RFK, we're gonna win, and he promised RFK a cabinet position, a cabinet position. Austin says, "Why should anyone who publicly says worms are growing in his brain?" Yeah. Mike B said, "Now that's the black job. You're talking about the fire brigade." Ah, God. So Project 2025. Every black person has a cousin, an aunt, somebody who works in the federal government. I know I do. And so while the civilian federal workforce is disproportionately white at the highest levels, for instance, in March of 2021, nearly half, 46.7% of low-level government employees were non-white. African American government workers are overrepresented in the federal government. This is the swamp, the so-called swamp that Trump wants to drain, folks. The fundamental principle guiding this pro-white project is a plan to embed conservative-minded, as Michael Harriot said, white people throughout the federal government. Um, so right now, folks, it is illegal to discriminate based on race, ethnicity, or political affiliation. Right now it is. But Trump and Project 2025 changes all of that. Because right now they can't ask prospective workers if they have accepted Donald J. Trump as their Lord and Savior. But they will be able to do that if they vote him back into office, if he wins the election. And so right now in the federal government, there's 4,000 presidential appointees, including 1,200 senior officials, cabinet secretaries, and deputies that require Senate confirmation. In most cases, the agency's deputy secretaries work with the Presidential Personnel Office, or PPO, to fill these leadership positions. In contrast, the rest of the agencies are filled with career level government employees. Using their personnel is policy theme, a second Trump administration will essentially make every government employee a political appointee by using Project 2025 to train all president appointed, Senate confirmed leaders. Those leaders will use the MAGA handbook to fill lower level career positions. Not only will this employee guide whitewash the entire federal government, but if you recall, many of Trump's presidential scandals, including his first impeachment and his mishandling of COVID, were sparked by career government workers turned whistleblowers. So, as Michael Harriot says, if you're not interested in Project 2025's level of specificity, specificity, whatever the specifics, you can also read Agenda 47's plan to dismantle the deep state. Agenda 47 is Project 2025, folks. It's just a Cliff Notes version of it. Power 96 says, "Well, what happened to Uncle Tim and Byron Butterbiscuits Donalds? I guess one will be Trump's chauffeur and the other one can be his cook, since he didn't pick them as VP." Oh yeah, you got to believe that Tim Scott I'm guessing Tim Scott will probably be the chauffeur, and Byron will be he'll be the guy who is in the house, wearing the, I guess, the black tuxedo that doesn't fit, and he'll be the one who he'll be the one who does all the entertainment. Like he'll do the tap dancing and stuff, and certainly we sick boss. That's what he'll be doing for sure. That's exactly what he'll be doing. And look at that. That's a perfect picture right there. Byron will be setting the table. Okay, thanks, David. That will be Byron's job, setting the table. Got some need some more wine, sir. You need you did I butter that biscuit correctly, sir? Be right with you directly, sir. Yes, boss. That's Byron Donalds. And Van Jones thinks, oh, uh, Bezos gave me 100 million. I ain't got to worry about that. What banks do you have it in, Van? Because they will all be Trump controlled. They will all be government controlled. And look, Van Jones is gonna get the wake up call. Oh, you want them uppity Negroes, and they'll take everything from him and put him in the field. That's the bottom line with Van Jones. What a waste of a human being. Disgusting. Van Jones is like who you wipe with after using the bathroom. Disgusting. Former NBA player Joe Jellybean Bryant, the father of Hall of Famer Kobe Bryant, has died. He was 69 years old, and an official cause of his death was not announced as of this morning. LaSalle University, where Bryant played and coached, said in a statement that Bryant was a beloved member of the Explorer family and will be dearly missed. Longtime Philadelphia area basketball coach Fran Dunphy, who currently is the head coach at LaSalle, told the Philadelphia Inquirer that Bryant recently suffered a massive stroke. Joe Bryant, after Kobe's death, you rarely saw him in public. He just, for the most part, by all accounts, became very reclusive after his son's tragic death. Um, the Kobe had back in 2010 told ESPN about his dad that Joe was a great basketball mind, and he credited his father with teaching him from an early age how to view the game, how to prepare for the game, and how to execute. Joe, of course, played and coached professionally both in the U.S. and internationally. You know the stories Kobe used to tell about being a military kid, especially in Italy. They'd spent a whole lot of time in Italy. Kobe really mastered the language over there too. Um, and at LaSalle, his father, Jellybean, averaged 21 points per game with them. He was a first round draft selection of the Golden State Warriors in 1975 before being acquired later that year by the Philadelphia 76ers. Magic Johnson tweeted how close they were and how much Joe Jellybean will be missed. And others, the Philadelphia 76ers organization put out a statement too, saying that Joe Jellybean Bryant was a local basketball icon whose legacy on the court transcended his journey across Bertram High School, LaSalle University, and his first 4 NBA seasons with the Sixers from 75 to 79. Our condolences go out to the Bryant family. He was 6'9", played parts of 8 seasons with the Sixers, Clippers, and the Rockets. He averaged about 9 points and 4 rebounds in 606 career games. He was a member of the 76-77 Philadelphia 76ers team that lost to the Portland Trailblazers in the NBA Finals. Of course, the Sixers finally went on to win their first NBA championship, headed by Moses Malone and Dr. J in the 1982-83 season. They celebrate Kobe Bryant a lot in Philadelphia. I remember taking my son to Kobe's last game there in Philadelphia, and what a ovation! One of the longest and loudest ovations I had ever been in an arena for was at the Wells Fargo Arena in Philadelphia when Kobe was being celebrated in his last game in Philadelphia. Really, the Bryant's adopted hometown. So Jellybean Bryant has died at the age of 69, and our condolences go out to the family of Joe Jellybean Bryant. Folks, go to our YouTube page, please, and hit the subscribe button. And LIBK-news. And also on Twitter, follow our great show producer, LIBK show producer, on Twitter. Always some good stuff. You could do it on Instagram too, because Let It Be Known, show producer on Twitter, Let It Be Known on Instagram. Follow us on all these platforms. Subscribe, I should say. And it doesn't cost you anything. How about that? When something is free, you don't always have to question it. Just hit subscribe and follow us. Let It Be Known News, and follow all of the Black press. Subscribe to your local Black-owned newspaper, wherever you might be in this United States of America. And we will come back tomorrow with some more headlines and more conversation. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's conversation about sickle cell. You can go back and watch that again as well, because lots of information we really, really need. I know that many of you really enjoyed that conversation, but go back and check it out again. But more, just as importantly, I should say, come back tomorrow for some more great conversation and some headlines. We'll see you then.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly.
Oh my.